What's up, everybody? Welcome into another freezing edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome, joined as always by Tyler Stafford. Tyler, are you and the children staying warm in this overhyped freeze of 2026?
We're very southeast. I live in Seabrook, so I'm like on the water down here. Well, not on the water. I don't make on the water money, but I'm near the water down here, and so we never get too cold. And of course, I read friends of the program, Space City Weather, and they were pretty clear that if you're this near the coast, it wasn't going to be too bad. But I did duct tape all of my pipes outside. I left the water dripping. But no, we're good. We've just been hanging out, man. School's canceled tomorrow, so
Is that
get
a
to
good
deal
or a
with
bad?
that.
Is that a good or a bad thing for you guys?
Uh, have you ever been locked in a house with children for 72 hours?
I mean, luckily, no.
So yeah, the you can handle a Saturday and Sunday because you know it's coming, but Monday I have to go to work, so that means they're all just just chaos downstairs. So it's more of a burden, for Alicia. But yeah, it's we'll see. And then they said today like, oh, we'll see if maybe we'll cancel on Tuesday. I'm like, get a heater, all right, we'll be fine. And
It's like it barely rained today. Like, there's not going to be any
the
ice anywhere.
problem, and as someone who has been a teacher before, the communication is it's not just the schools, it's teachers coming in from there are teachers who live in, Houston
Mhm.
or like further
Right,
north. And so
right.
then it's like a problem of, well, if you're going to have 20% of your teachers out, not every teacher lives in the neighborhood that the schools are in, despite what the children think. So, especially like when I taught in Goose Creek, you have to factor in like the Fred Hartman Bridge, so like if that's going to be an issue, there's buses that have to get over that. So I don't know. We're supposed to find out about Tuesday tomorrow, but they are definitely off Monday.
I was about to say, remember when we were the age when we kind of thought teachers lived at school or
Oh,
teachers like lived in the house next to school?
dude, when I lived, there was a couple years where I was living in Baytown and also teaching in Highlands. And when I would see kids at like, well, I don't think HEB was there at the time, but I would see them, at the grocery store. It was like they were seeing a ghost. They were like, I didn't even know that you were allowed outside. And I was like, you think I just sleep in my classroom? And they're like, yeah, that is what I pictured. Absolutely.
I just remember seeing like there was an age, I guess it was from like maybe second to fifth or sixth grade. Like if you saw a teacher like in street clothes, like at the mall or at the movies or at like an LSU football game, like if you went to an LSU game or something, and it was like you stopped what you were doing and like you tensed up and you were like, oh, do they
Yeah.
have authority here? It was very disconcerting. It may say a lot about what I've turned into.
I
But
mean, there was a couple times where, I taught eighth grade. And so after a few years, those kids were old, some of them had graduated. And one time I was at El Toro and our waiter was a kid that I had taught before. And I was like, am I allowed to order a margarita? Like, is this going to be weird for this kid? And he was like 19. He was like, whatever, doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a very strange feeling. I will say, so uh, for the last Texans game, RIP, I did a live stream over at Apollo. And within 5 minutes, someone commented in the live stream, is that Mr. Stafford in the back? And I was like, oh no. There's It's been like 6 years since I taught. So this kid could be 25. Like I don't know who it was. But yeah, that was very funny to see. Is that Mr. Stafford back there?
shout out Apollo. Shout out the
Mm-hmm.
Apollo boys. Appreciate
Friends
the
of the
work they
pod.
do. Friends of the pod. Speaking of the last Texans game, can you imagine what CJ Stroud would have done in those conditions today
Oh
in Denver?
boy. I was really thinking, when Stiddy walked him down the field in the first quarter, I was like, dude, how bad is CJ Stroud if Jared
I still thought
Stidham?
that after the game.
Yeah, I mean, at least they only scored one touchdown, but I was like, dude, if they put up 20 on this Patriots defense, I'm gonna lose it. So you know, tons of fun.
Yeah,
But yeah, other than that, you know, relatively. How was FanFest? Was it freezing?
It was so cold.
Yeah.
It was. I think I can pull. The Astros would get very mad if I don't cite the exact number of people they had. I think I have the press release pulled up. Hold on. They had 10. The Astros claim there were 10,420 fans that came to FanFest. Every single one of you, God bless you. It was so cold.
Is that people who walked in the gates, or is that people who paid the $2 fee to get a ticket?
I would assume it is the people that walked in the gates, but because that number is so specific, I would imagine they had like a more round number of things because everything sells out. Like, I mean, if you go looked at the FanFest like site on Astros.com before like everything was sold out. So I'm sure they had like a round number of tickets to sell or a round number of vouchers, whatever you call them. So I'd imagine that's like the actual number of people. But to all of you, God bless you. You've got more vigor and more enthusiasm for getting out than I do because that was it was very cold. But I'm happy for the people that work for the Astros and the people that put that on because it could not have really worked out better for them just in terms of the weather because it rained all morning, like from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then it just stopped. And so there was no rain. It was just cold. And then everyone got home like before the city started shutting down. So they had the
closed, I assume.
Oh yeah, but even with the roof closed, like they don't have heat in there.
Yeah,
like it's very. I mean, even when every year for FanFest, it's always this around this same time. It's always around like conference championship weekend or divisional round weekend, and even when it's like normal Houston cold, like 50s or 40s, like it is freezing in there because they have no heat. And now you add to it that it was like in the 30s. For this past FanFest. It was not fun. It was very cold, but if you did go, hope you got the autographs you were seeking. Hope you got if you got to throw in the bullpen with Spencer Arrighetti.
Ooh,
it seemed like he was down there giving some pitching lessons. Spencer was really happy to just be there. He was very talkative. He
still got the flow going.
He does, and he's gonna be a dad. He's gonna be he's got
congrats.
Got twin boys on the way.
Wow.
They're fast approaching. I think they're doing a couple of months, like maybe right around opening day. So he was excited to talk about that because he talked about a lot. We'll get to Spencer. He was very energetic and very lively, but I don't think he's the lead of the podcast and the lead of what we heard on Saturday, where I think the final count was 22 players were in attendance, in addition to Joe Espada, his entire coaching staff, and Dana Brown. Dana Brown talked, Joe Espada talked, and then a bevy of players talked. This isn't good podcasting, but I'll just say it. There really wasn't much revelatory that came out of it. A lot of the same stuff that we have talked about now since the GM meetings, since the winter meetings. Maybe now that you heard it again from Joe Espada about how the infield's going to shake out, maybe now the people that are still sending me 18 different lineup variations of how they can make this work, maybe they'll stop sending them to me. Maybe, this is the thing that'll resonate with them because Joe Espada did reiterate on Saturday that Jose Altuve will play the majority of his games at second base, will get some time in left field occasionally, but will play the majority of his games at second base. And then again, also reiterating that Yordan Alvarez will spend the majority of his games at designated hitter. Again, like Altuve, we'll get into left field every now and then, but they are going to DH him most of the time. So that being said, you still have too many infielders for not enough positions. Though with the DH spot being occupied, with second base being occupied on an almost everyday basis, it does not make sense to have the infield surplus that they have, which takes us to what Dana Brown had to say about the state of the roster, about where they're at. Dana did not sound like someone that is content with the roster the way it is. He certainly sounded like someone that's got a couple more moves in him. I'll give you the direct quote that he said. He said, "We're still having conversations about certain moves that we could make to make the team better. We're going to continue to grind all the way up until spring training and maybe even in spring training. We don't want to leave any stone unturned for making this team a better team." He went on to say that There is interest in a number of their players. They are getting calls from rival teams on a number of their players. Jesus Sanchez, Dana Brown did not say this out loud. This is me telling you via reporting what I have heard. Jesus Sanchez is being called on, Christian Walker is being called on, and Isaac Paredes is being called on. So that is now that we heard that for the third time this offseason, maybe that'll start resonating with the some that still want to ask why they're listening on Isaac Paredes, why they would trade this guy, why they need to trade this guy, just because it's a logjam, it's a surplus, and it's not practical roster construction. Now, to add more fuel to the Red Sox and Isaac Paredes link, Dana Brown was asked specifically, what would you like to add? Like where on this roster do you think you need to add? And he mentioned, they're still looking for a backup catcher, but he specifically said, if we have an opportunity where we can add a left-handed bat, I think that would be more of interest as opposed to just saying, hey, we want to get an outfielder. The question was, do you feel like you want to add an outfielder? And Dana spun that to say they want a left-handed bat regardless of if it's an outfielder. Now, with that being said, they already have too many infielders.
Okay.
They're not going to go acquire another infielder when they trade away whichever infielder they pick to trade away. So, yes, it's going to be a left-handed hitting outfielder. And the remainder of his quote, I think it goes along with what I said about getting more left-handed bats in our lineup. If that opportunity presents itself and we can make some sort of trade to do that, I think it would be intriguing for us to make the team better.
Mm-hmm.
Wilyer Abreu hits left-handed. Jarren Duran hits left-handed. As we hinted on the last podcast, and as I'll just say it more forceful now, the Astros prefer Wilyer Abreu over Jarren Duran. If they are going to do a deal with the Red Sox, if that's going to come to fruition, they are more intrigued by Wilyer Abreu for a number of reasons. He's making the league minimum. He's got more team control. And he's a two-time Gold Glover in right field, won it last year too. So the defense is better than Duran's. The offense is still very, very good. Don't get me wrong, but he's cheaper, has more years of control, and is a better defender. So not sitting here saying that the Red Sox are the only team in on Isaac Paredes, but Tyler, everything that Dana said on Saturday, you really just start connecting the dots, and it almost makes too much sense to pair the Red Sox and the Astros here on some sort of deal involving Isaac Paredes.
And I don't know about your sources, but I've confirmed with my sources that the Astros are out on Jarren Duran. So
good.
I've done all my sourcing as well.
Good.
Saw several tweets.
Can never have too many sources
to that effect, and those are my sources.
Can you confirm?
Yes, I've confirmed. They're also out on Judge.
Okay. Good.
So yes, we've covered all of that. Again, we've said that the whole time. They're going to have to trade one. And look, Isaac Paredes is not enough to get Abreu. That's not even close. It's going to take more than that. And whatever that trade ends up being, for those of you listening, you're going to have a heart attack when it comes out, and it's going to be way more than you're thinking that it is to get that, because the Red Sox don't have to trade these people. It's fine.
To be fair, the Astros don't have to trade. It's just going to make everyone's life miserable for the most of the season, but they don't have to trade Isaac Paredes.
Correct. Yeah, you can have Jordan in left field more than you would like. You can have Paredes DH. We can pretend that Paredes can play second base every once in a while, or you can give, Correa an off day, or even Christian Walker an off day. Like, you can make it work. But yeah, I mean, they need some outfield help, because right now they just don't have anybody that I think you can fully rely on, and having somebody like Abreu would certainly be nice. So, Chandler, when is it going to happen? Why just report it? You already know. So just what's happening? Are they talking to other teams? Are there other options other than those two gentlemen from Boston?
So we don't do much prep for this, you and I. The fascinating thing is,
we read each other's
minds, because literally I was about to bring this up, because I was I have no life and I'm sitting in my freezing cold home all day. Like I was thinking today, like what other, because I have heard that this is not just Boston calling on Paredes. Like they've got other teams interested, but I don't know who the other teams are. And so like I was thinking today of who
there's only like 28 of them. Figure it out.
I was thinking today of like who logically could be there. And I want to preface this again with this is me connecting dots. This is not, I have not been told on authority. This is not me reporting that these teams are in on Isaac Paredes, but follow some of my logic and my line of thinking here. Ken Rosenthal, a god among us all, reported a couple of weeks ago that before Nolan Arenado got traded to the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Sacramento A's had a deal in place to get Nolan Arenado, but we're unclear if he would waive his no trade clause. If that sounds familiar, then yep. The Padres were also in a similar vein, but they were going to get, because they have a guy making $300 million playing third base named Manny Machado. They were going to have Nolan Arenado play first, but they were in on Nolan Arenado as well. All that to say, the A's need a third baseman. The Padres need a right-handed hitting first baseman. Those are two things that Isaac Paredes can do. I have not looked at their rosters to start to look at, hey, are there left-handed hitting outfielders that they would be able to part with either at the upper minor leagues like Major League Ready or Major League left-handed hitting outfielders? I'm not sure, but those are the two teams that, just thinking out loud, those are the two teams that, again, because we have seen them linked to third baseman in this winter cycle, and because, as we know, the A's do not spend money. The A's are much more amenable to trades than free agency, so it would make sense if they were in need of a third baseman, maybe the Astros get involved. Now, would the Astros trade Isaac Paredes to a division rival? Do they think the A's are that formidable of a threat that they would really put their postseason hopes in peril? I'm not sure. I like the A's a lot. I'm not sure Isaac Paredes is the thing that's going to get them to the playoffs. They still need to pitch, and I don't think they can pitch. So I don't know how much that enters the calculus. The Padres are in a weird spot because of their payroll, because their owner, Peter Seidler, passed away, and they're kind of in a weird ownership stage right now. So they're cutting payroll. So any thought, I know they handed out $300 million deals like candy back when, but they're not in the business of doing that anymore. So they have to be mindful of their payroll stuff. Like at first I thought Christian Walker would really profile well for the Padres, because you would think, all right, they just take on, like the Astros would have to pay down most of it, but yeah, take on his money, right-handed hitting first baseman. He rakes in the NL West. He rakes against the Dodgers. He's familiar with the D-backs. Like I thought that made sense, but poking around a little bit this week, it sounds like Isaac Paredes would be too rich for them, and his $9.95 million top end guarantee if he wins his ARB hearing. So I thought about the Guardians too. They have a third baseman that's not going anywhere for a very long time, but again, they could play Paredes at first. They could DH him. They need any sort of offense they can get. The Guardians do. But again, I want to again reiterate, that is just me thinking out loud here. I don't know that those teams are in on Paredes, but those are three teams that to me would make sense, just given what they've done this winter, what we know they've done this winter, and what their needs are.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, Paredes has some positional flexibility. I mean, look, at the end of the day, any team theoretically would be very happy to pay Isaac Paredes $10 million to play for them. Certainly the front offices would be happy. You have to get ownership approval. But I mean, no GM in baseball is looking at that and thinking that's too rich for Isaac Paredes. So you have some options there, certainly. But as we get closer to spring training, I think we'll start to see really who these trade partners are and what's going to happen. But we're getting close. What, pitchers and catchers are what, in like 2 weeks?
I think the 10th is when WBC pitchers and catchers report. Mm-hmm. And I think like normal pitchers and catchers report like the next day. So I think everyone will show up on the 10th basically. But yeah, like I think my flight to West Palm's in 14 days. Not that I'm counting or anything. Mm-hmm. Before we get off of this topic, I do want to make one quick point. Maybe some people were confused about this. I interacted with someone on social media that was a little bit confused about it. Um, a lot of people took the fact that Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker were not at FanFest as some sort of message or signal, or that either they were mad at the organization or that the organization told them not to come because they were going to get traded. No. First of all, there were a lot of guys. They had 22 players there total on the 40-man roster. So half the 40-man was not there, first of all. Second of all, as I think we all know, trying to get to Houston, trying to get anywhere the last 3 or 4 days has been a disaster. Jeremy Pena was supposed to be at FanFest, but had travel issues that prevented that. He could not get to Houston. So that's another thing. With Paredes and Walker specifically, Paredes is playing winter ball in the Dominican. Christian Walker he and his wife had their first child at the All-Star break of this season. I would imagine he wants to prioritize maybe spending some time with his newborn daughter that he barely got to see toward the end of the season. I imagine his whole offseason was catered toward, being a father to his newborn child. So, and neither of those guys live in Houston either. Most of the guys that you saw, most of the established guys that you saw at FanFest do live in Houston, and it's pretty easy for them to just jet over to the ballpark. You're looking at Alvarez, McCullers, Altuve, Correa. Like, they all live in Houston, so it's pretty easy for them to get there. Don't read into that. Like, it had nothing to do with that. Like, zero. Like that. I don't feel bad about it because journalistically it's the right thing to do, but like, I feel bad that like I included in my story that they were not there, but I kind of had to, because when you're writing about that and when you're quoting other players, it's only right for you journalistically to say like literally they were not there to comment or respond to what you're writing about. So wanted to put that out there. These guys are human beings. Let them be human beings. Like, not everything is some grand statement. Not everything is a sign or a message being sent. Like, let these dudes enjoy the 3 months a year they have to not think about baseball, to not think about the Astros, to not think about let them enjoy that before they have to go to West Palm Beach. So clear that up right now. Like, just because they were not there, it is not some more ulterior motive or anything like that. So,
with that, weird if what if they were at the Boston FanFest though, just getting an early start?
Yeah, I don't know if the A's have a FanFest, so I don't know if Paredes could have gone he could have gone to Vegas.
It's fan singular fest. It's just the one guy that shows up to every game.
It's it's the Fan Fest. Some other interesting things that happened. Carlos Correa always likes to fill our notebooks. Love that he's back on the team.
I was going to say, you got to love having Correa back. That guy will give you a quote.
Love that he's back on the team, and he'll tell you what he thinks. He said, one of the things Joe Espada said at the beginning of the offseason was that he wanted to sit down with Correa, talk to him about kind of what he saw in his 2 months after being reacquired, what they needed to change, things like that. And Saturday was the first time that we had gotten to talk to Carlos since the end of the season. He was asked kind of what his main focuses in his discussions with Joe Espada were. He said they had about 3 or 4 lunches. I wonder who paid. Maybe they just went 2 and 2. Maybe they went Dutch. Who can say? I don't know.
They expensed it. That's on Jim.
I think Jim can afford a couple of lunches. But I thought this was the most interesting thing that was said by anybody at FanFest on Saturday. And Carlos Correa, again, the question was asked of him, kind of what was your main focus? What did you guys mainly want to address? And if you're watching on YouTube, you can read along. I'll read for it if you're listening on the audio platforms. He said, we had way too many injuries last year. And I feel like when I got here, people did not have the routine they needed to have in order for them to be able to withstand the whole season. For the young guys and the people who had not been doing this for a while or had not been through injuries in the past, it's easy to get carried away and go through the motions on a daily basis.
And if there's one guy who knows how to get more injured while receiving receiving treatment, I'm going to trust Carlos Correa's opinion on this.
So it's interesting. Like when he first said it, like the first thing that popped in my head was like, oh, like of course, like they have reevaluated the return to play procedure. They parted ways with the head trainer. It's has to do with that. And then like before we started recording, again, we don't prep for this. Like you said something that kind of put a thought in my head. Like Jeremiah Randall was the Astros head athletic trainer for most of Carlos Correa's Astros tenure before he got traded. Now, granted, he was gone for 2.5 years and things can change, processes differ, things can get different, but it's not as if like when he left the first time, they overhauled everything. He came back and saw that he didn't like it. It was the same people in place, the same processes in place as far as we know. So I think it's probably a little disingenuous to just say, oh, like he's talking about the return to play procedure and the strength staff and the training staff. Like, and I think that certainly can't be counted out. I think that's part of it because they have taken action against those things this winter. But I thought the thing that stood out to me was, when he said it's easy to get carried away and go through the motions on a daily basis. That to me did not sound like just something about injuries. That to me sounded like maybe there's something that they've got to, just, and I'm not saying it's one of these things where they've got to like tear it all down and just like have a complete holistic overhaul, but just maybe like, again, like we talked about with the hitting coaches, like a fresh set of eyes. And Correa counts as a fresh set of eyes after being gone for 2.5 years. Like you get him back in there, a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective, somebody that was around when this franchise was doing things that it had never done before. I think there was a lot said there, maybe in a very brief statement.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine coming back to this organization after you left, after, World Series runs, that maybe you felt, a sense of complacency or a lack of urgency in returning, whether it's from, the training staff side or from even the player side where it's, look, Correa came up as a 20-year-old in a very veteran heavy clubhouse. And so you could imagine Correa learning these lessons of here's how you take care of yourself. Here's, how to act professionally in this way or whatever. And him coming back and now being on the veteran side, feeling the need to set that same precedent to everyone here. And I mean, it's also just frustration, I'm sure, of just when you look around and people are dropping like flies and not coming back. You do. I mean, every fan did the same thing. Like, what is happening? Why is this happening? Fix something. I don't know what it is, but this can't happen again. So that makes a lot of sense to say that. And it, again, so great to have Carlos Correa be back and be secure enough to just say it, to just be like, yeah, this is what's going on. This is how I feel about it. Again, for the people not in the journalism world, this is just a godsend to have somebody that when you're writing a story, that guy's going to give me a quote about this. I'm going to get something.
Yeah. And it's not like, and the bigger thing is like, because that was the thing with Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman he was like the most available player I've ever covered. Like he'd be the guy that we'd walk in there, and this is not the norm. This does not happen often. We would walk in the clubhouse, home or road, after every game, and he would look at us like, do you guys need me today? And we'd say yes or no. And he'd walk, like, that's when he would either leave or do whatever he had to do. Like that doesn't happen often. Like Alex Bregman was one of the most available players I ever covered. But as Alex got older, his quotes were a little more trite, cliche, not a ton of substance behind them. Carlos is the complete like Carlos will tell you everything that's on his mind. He will be respectful about it, but he will be candid. He will be forceful when he has to. He knows his role probably better than anyone I've ever been around. And from a journalistic perspective, it's great. From a fan perspective, I would imagine it's great because you really get the insight of what's going on. Like,
you know how many times I've watched that clip of him after the trash can stuff of him? It's great. I love it.
You want a funny story about that?
Please.
So it was in that. So he did the interview with Ken, right? He did the interview with Ken outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to relitigate everything that happened that day, but essentially he was going to do that. He was going to talk to an entire scrum of reporters that morning in the clubhouse. And for some reason, some Astros officials pulled him away from the scrum that he was about to do. Then he goes outside and does that with Ken Rosenthal on MLB Network, to the point where, like, as again, Tyler, you've been in journalism, when this happens and you're like, that got taken from not just me, like all the reporters in there. And so basically Carlos, to do a favor to the local meet that was there, he agreed to meet with like 3 or 4 of us in a hallway somewhere to basically reiterate everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was on MLB Net, like it was already all over MLB Network at that point, like all of us that met with him were videoing, because we kind of like at that point, like it's all in video anyway. Like we have to video everything he says. I can't remember how it went, but I misspoke. I was asking him a question about, I was saying something about Carlos. You reiterated, and I said something about you guys, I said Altuve did use the trash cans, and he bowed up to me. I still have it on video somewhere. He got so angry. I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I misspoke. And like, I got to go find, I still have it on my phone somewhere. And that was the closest I've ever thought a professional athlete was going to deck me. But no, it just goes to say, like,
you should have let him. Then we'd have that clip forever of like, you shut up about Altuve using this.
Well, because again, in his interview with Ken, that was when he first came out and said that Tony Kemp didn't use them, Josh Reddick didn't use them, and Jose Altuve were the 3 guys that didn't use the trash cans. And I think my question, I was trying to say, like Carlos, you said that Jose did not, and I don't think I said did not. I think I said, Carlos, you said Jose did, and he lost it. But again, it just goes to show you what kind of guy he is, that he made time for us to literally reiterate everything he had told Ken. He's a media godsend. No one's listening to this to hear about the media, though. So we'll move on to what other players told the media. Cam Smith was at FanFest. He went to the national championship game. Got to see the Florida State boy was very happy that Miami lost to Indiana. Very happy about that. I thought he didn't really give us much about what he has done in the offseason, but I think the one thing that he's on point and on message with, we asked him a lot kind of how it hit him when Dana said at the GM meetings that he's not guaranteed a spot, that he's going to have to come to camp, and that he's going to have to win a spot. And he's got the right attitude. He said, that's business. He goes, nothing personal. He goes, this is a business. Like, I didn't affect me anyway. He goes, I come to camp with that mindset anyway. But, it's clear that, and we talked about that when Dana made the comments, Tyler, even though it surprised us a little bit that he would say it out loud. Like, the last thing I thought was that would screw with Cam Smith's head, because he's the most mentally strong and just kind of pragmatic and poised kid of his age that one of the most that I've ever come across. So not a surprise at all that he said all the right things.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And that's all he's known. He came into last spring training with no expectations of being a starter, certainly not a starting right fielder. So that doesn't shock me that he did not somehow grow into expecting that throughout the year, especially because he did not end the season as a starting right fielder. So, it would make a lot of sense that he would come in with that. But, he's going to have it no matter what happens, whatever trades happen or don't happen. At the end of the day, if he's hitting, he's going to be in the lineup. Yeah. It doesn't, they're going to put the best hitters out there. And so as long as he's able to do that, he'll find a place out there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Zach Cole went to Hungary, this offseason, went on a mission trip with FCA, went to Hungary, ran some clinics. That was cool to hear. He did say, that one of his focuses this offseason was making sure he can play all 3 outfield positions. He's obviously a natural center fielder, and he's very good at that. But You start to look at the roster, and it probably would give them a lot more flexibility if he can give you a competent left, play some right if they need him to. So certainly don't think he's pigeonholed in the center. I think he can be flexible and go to either corner.
If Joe Espada had to write a lineup card today, what do you think that it would look like? You don't have to give me the order of the lineups. Just give me positions.
Correa at third, Pena at short, Altuve at second, Paredes at first, Jake Myers in center, Zach Cole in left, Cam Smith in right, Yainer Diaz catching, Hunter Brown pitching.
I think so too. I think that is correct. Jordan at DH. That's unspoken. DH, yeah. But yes, I agree. I think maybe you swap Cam to left field and Cole to right. I guess if it's Cam, if it's Jesus Sanchez, obviously Cole moves to right. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good lineup. You know, it would be annoying to have $20 million sitting on your bench, which is why you need to trade one of them. But that's not a bad lineup. That's a pretty good sounding lineup.
No, yeah, they can do some things with that. That'll play.
And the Hunter Brown guy, I'm pretty confident. Pretty much anytime, he's out there, so that makes a lot of sense as well. I'd write his name down as often as I could.
Hunter was at a FanFest. Also, one of the people that was very happy to be there. He was very talkative. I'm sure Astros fans will love to know that he was asked if he's been approached about a contract extension. He said he has not heard anything. So, apologies. Said that
about a year late.
Yeah, well, it's a couple years late. They could have done it. They could have done it 2 years. He was begging for one 2 years ago, and but
he was like it. That's that. I mean,
that's when you have to do it.
I know, and that's the hard part. Is like
a frustrating thing.
Because the other thing is that 2 years ago, you could have also offered Yainer Diaz a contract extension, and perhaps it would go the other way with that from what you were paying at the time. But yeah, I mean, that is why you have to offer guys like Spencer Arrighetti contract extensions, like those types of people where, they're still very early in the process. And again, Cam Smith is, I don't know that his value will ever be as low as it is right now. I don't know that he would want to sign an extension, but those are the people that you got. Once you have your breakout season, you're already close enough to free agency that it's like, you might as well wait. And even if you're not that good for the next couple of years, some team is still going to look at that 1 year that you had and give you good money. I mean,
it sounds weird, but once you've proven you're worth the big extension, it's too late to get a big extension.
Correct.
Because at that point you're looking at free. It's what the good teams, they identify. All right, it's a projectability thing. It's like, we project that this kid is going to be elite, and we need to lock him in now before he knows he's going to be elite. And look, there are agents out there that do a fantastic job, and every agent is going to think that their player is going to be the greatest player in baseball history, because that's how they have to think. All agents have to think like that. But it's hard for a lot of agents to turn that down, to turn that sort of money down when these guys have not played a major league game or have played like a handful of major league games.
Look, they're making $500,000 a year. They're 6 or 7 years away from free agency. And even if they're great throughout arbitration, they might make 30 or $40 million over those few years. And if you can get them to have a guaranteed $100 million in their hands, like you'd be crazy not to take the, I mean, again, outside of just freak of nature prospects, I mean, it's malpractice not to take some of those extensions. And again, sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. But that's how you build a core that you can then build around and not have to worry about paying them, something crazy like $60 million a year for 4 years to bat fifth in your lineup. That's how you do it. But Yeah,
I'll
I
defend the
mean,
Astros. They tried to extend Kyle Tucker. They just
yeah.
didn't. The offer wasn't good enough. Like it's not. It's. I will say this: it hasn't been for lack of effort in a lot of these
And
instances.
they've done. I mean, the Jordan extension was
Highway robbery.
just yes, but also again, Jordan was making $500,000 at the time and was given $150 million guaranteed. Like
115, not
50,
150.
whatever. I look
Highway robbery.
once you get in those. No, I agree. He is worth more than that, but also he could have not been. He like
Right.
hindsight is 2020, but he very easily could not have been worth that, and he would have $115 million. And even if you are worth more than that, you have $115 million. Like that's why these guys sign these extensions. But again, you have to do it, in their first or second year, and after that, it's too late.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you, Hunter Brown, after his first full big league season, that would have been after 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The interest was fervent. There was a lot of interest in getting him from the player's side.
Would he have been able to learn a sinker if his wallet was that thick already, though? These are the questions. I think so too.
He would have found a way.
Mm-hmm.
He would have found a way to learn a sinker and been incredible.
They also have extended pitchers, and it just hasn't gone.
Christian Javier,
Lance McCullers, people on their team.
Yeah, Lance.
Yep.
Lance was at FanFest on Saturday. He did not speak to the media.
What's his hair situation?
I don't know. I saw him for half of a second. Like I turned around, I saw the back of his jersey. I did not see his hair. I would give you a hair report if I saw the hair. I saw McCullers 43 like walking through where we're set up, and then he never came back. So those that wanted a McCullers update,
is Hader there?
I did not see him. No, I did not see him. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to trade him. No, he's got a full no trade clause, so they can't do that. Finally, as we teased earlier, Spencer Arrighetti was very happy to be at FanFest. Very happy to talk to us. He's thrown 7 bullpen sessions this winter. He said he is feeling great. He said he is going to be right on par with everyone else when they report to spring training. So sounds like they avoided any worst case scenario with him. He said that there was inflammation. There was just some bad stuff in the elbow, but the ligament was never in danger. They never thought surgery. In Arrighetti's words, surgery was never going in his mind. It was never going to be an option. So it was just one of those things where he just needed to rest. He went 8 weeks of no throw after he went on the IL in late August, and then started building back up after those 8 weeks. And
yeah, you're famously not supposed to cut spaghetti, so that makes sense that surgery was not an option for him.
Do you break spaghetti in half when you boil it?
No, you put it in there.
No, I break it in half. It's easier. Just
don't let the Italians hear that.
I think my last name's Rome. I think I'm all right. I think I'm all right, and I can pass for that.
Okay.
Let's see. Anything else happen at FanFest besides me freezing? It's still unclear, and I need to do my job on this. It's still unclear about the WBC, what's going on.
I saw the Correa news. I think we talked about that.
They're trying. I think it's a little bit more intensive in terms of insurance, and if you've been injured a lot, like getting on. I think it's Omar Lopez who's managing Team Venezuela. He talked about it a little bit. Something about a chronic injury list, and if you're on that list, if you've had certain, it's harder for you to get approval and insurances. So suffice to say, I need to look more into it, but suffice to say, Jose Altuve said that he is still trying to get all of that approved to where he can play, but if it gets approved, he will play.
So it sounds like it's a third-party approval process, though. There's some insurance.
Well,
it's not like the owners are saying, no, you can't, or you can. Or
well, I will say this. Carlos Correa brought up Jim Crane in talking about this. He said that Jim is looking into a couple of things. So
surely that's just, can I get this approved by insurance that if you tear your Achilles or whatever, I don't have to pay you this whole salary.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate because again, like I need to look more into this. So it could be Jim again, like dealing with third party insurance people about insuring the contracts. Like I'm not sure, but
they're gonna play in spring training anyway. I've never understood the like fear of like they're gonna be playing anyway. Like they're either gonna get hurt or they're not. You know, it's not like you just magically get hurt because you're playing in a WBC, except for maybe pitchers. But again, I think they do a pretty good job of regulating how much you can pitch and all of that.
Yeah, and like we didn't have a podcast at the time, but I would have said that at the time, you know, when Altuve broke his thumb, like he got hit by a pitch. Like I get it, and
Edwin Diaz too. Like
he got hit by a major league pitcher, but like
that could happen. That could happen on a backfield in West Palm
I don't
Beach.
think people understand like. Especially the first few weeks of spring. That's why a lot of times one of the reasons you don't see big league players playing early in spring training, part of it is they're ramping up and they don't want to play them too much too early. But the other part of it is the major league pitchers aren't built up to throw a lot yet. So you'll have like A-ball kids and double A-ball kids pitching in these big league spring training games. And if you've got, let's think of a way to explain this. If you've got an A-ball kid, 22 years old, let's say for the Cardinals or the Marlins or whomever the Astros play often in spring training, you got a 22-year-old Venezuelan kid that's in A-ball in the Cardinals system. They bring him in to pitch the third inning of this Grapefruit League game, and he's pitching against his idol. Jose Altuve steps in. This kid's head is probably going 80 miles an hour. He probably has no idea where the ball is going. And Altuve is probably more at risk of getting hit by a pitch in that situation than he is on the World Baseball Classic stage when he's facing literal big league relievers. It just one slip from Daniel Bard and it hit him in the thumb. So there are cases where hitters are probably in more danger taking at bats in spring training games than they are at the WBC.
Well, you can also get injured in right field during batting practice. You know, you can break your thumb a lot of different ways, as we have seen. That USA-Mexico game at Daikin Park is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. Are you going to be back for that?
Yeah, I'm coming back. I'll do some WBC stuff. I think I'm flying back to West Palm the last day of pool play here. But the USA-Mexico game is the day before. So I'll be here for US-Mexico, but then I go back to West Palm the next day.
And Hunter Brown is not pitching, correct?
He is not. Okay. We should have asked him whether he got – because I believe he got asked. I just think he politely declined. But we did not ask him that. Maybe we will get the opportunity to ask him that in the near future. I'm not sure.
Let's get him on the pod and ask him.
Let's try.
That hard.
Let's see. We'll try to get that done and get it done. If we do that, that would really help our subscriber base. Like we said, guys, we are inching toward 5,000 subscribers. Like we said, Pitchers and Catchers report on February 10th. We would like to be at 5,000 YouTube subscribers by then. We are currently at 3,595. So we have work to do. So please, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the video, that helps us a ton as well. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Try to get us to 5,000 YouTube subscribers by spring training. That would really, really be helpful. As always, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify, like I just asked. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please like the video. That helps us a bunch. We'll be back next week. Hopefully one of these infielders is traded by then, so we don't have to keep rehashing everything we've talked about for the last 2 months. We're working on getting some pretty cool guests on in the next couple of weeks, so maybe a couple of those will come through in the next week. But we will be back next week with 2 episodes. So until then, we will talk to you later.
My sources have confirmed that this episode is over. Bye!